Welcome back, viewers of your award-winning Let's Talk America Radio. Welcome to our special edition of Real Talk. And you know, we highlight the best and the brightest and the trending topics out there. Of course, I am Shayna Thornton, and tonight's exclusive guest is a fan favorite of this program. It's the one and only internist, Dr. Ken Redcross. We have been chatting with you for years, sir. You have
Absolutely.
updated and educated so much, so many topics out there to our viewers and listeners. And we're so excited to have you back on, sir.
Oh, thank you for having me back on, Shayna. Hello, everyone out there. I'm happy to be back with you as well.
Super excited. Now, we have a tradition, even though you are a fan favorite and you've been on our show multiple times. But for those that are seeing you for the first time, or it has been a while, we know since the pandemic, we are always fascinated with what drives our exclusive guests. And hey,
Yeah.
I've seen your resume, your CV, you're super impressive on so many
Thank you.
levels. I know you're a best-selling author as well. But on the human side, Dr. Redcross, in 2 minutes or less, what really motivates you to advocate as much as you do for so many important health topics?
Oh
What keeps
gosh,
you up at
Shayna.
night?
Thank you for asking me that. Look, let me tell you, everyone, and if you look me up after this, look, I know why the good Lord created me was to make sure that I have that bond that I'm with all of you out there tonight that focuses on the thing that makes me the happiest, making sure you feel that there's trust, respect, empathy, communication in your relationships with your doctor. So for me, I hope you feel that tonight, and that's what makes me happy, making all of you happy.
Yeah, and you make us happy by educating us, which I want to say is to empower us. And that's
Yeah,
so key because I think so many times when people hear MD or doctor, Dr. Redcross, you
yeah,
know this, they're like, not another diagnosis, not another
exactly.
prescription, not telling me I need to lose another 10 or 15 pounds.
Yeah.
But it really is about allowing us to live and have a quality of life. And I know for you, that's important for all communities, but I know you've advocated also for Black and Brown communities to understand the importance of our health.
Absolutely, because it's a population that unfortunately everyone we all kind of know we're in a marginalized population. It doesn't always have that fair shake, right? And so that's part of the thing that drives me and gets me up each and every morning as well, Shayna.
Yeah, so key. I did want to mention, of course, you're a best-selling author. Your latest book, Bond: The Four Cornerstones of a Lasting and Caring Relationship with Your Doctor.
Yeah.
You're the right guy. Of course, you did mention how it's important to have that relationship. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about that before we close out. But tonight we are putting the spotlight on our tummy health, our gut
Yeah.
health,
There we go.
and when I hear tummy health, gut health, we tend to think, well, it only affects that area of that's there. But I know you're going to educate us tonight briefly on how gut health really is a balancing dynamic to a
Yeah.
lot of other components of our health. Explain.
It really is. 'Cause so look, everyone. So this is why it's so exciting to come today to talk about this because here's something else that we can really bring in that's going to make us even healthier and whole as we go forth. And you hit it, Shayna. It's that gut health because we're finding out we know we have that one brain, but what we're learning is that our gut, guess what? It's the second brain actually, and it does so much all the way for our mood and so many other things. So we're learning more and we're learning how to get that microbiome where it needs to be.
Wow. I mean, so it's not just saying, well, it affects my tummy, but I know you're saying gut health and keeping it in check can even help hormones when it comes to sleep. Is
Yeah,
that true?
yeah, it really can. Because look, if you think about it, when we're out of balance, we have issues with our stress, with sleep, with disease, or as I call it, dis-ease, if you're not at that right balance. So when I say microbiome, everyone, that's that good bacteria. But the good thing is this, and if you know me, there's always ways to do it throughout our diet as well, some things in our cupboard, and there's other ways to do it as well with supporting it with supplements if need be.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the diet part of it.
Yeah,
Because I know you are a huge advocate of diet and
yeah,
exercise just in general, right?
yeah.
So when it comes to the gut health that's there, um, I hate to say this, but many people watching us may say, he's going to tell me to stay away from meat. He's going to tell me to be a vegetarian. Is
Well,
that true?
all right. We're gonna do a couple of things that may be a little similar to that, but let's do it a little bit differently tonight. So let's talk about some of the best foods. So these are good foods, everyone, that are almost in a sense prebiotics. These are the things that really get our probiotics that are already in our gut stimulated. So think about things like bananas. Bananas are simple because bananas have a chemical called inulin. Inulin is a fiber that we don't digest as well, but the bacteria in our gut digest really well and gets activated. Then you think of things such as fermented foods, sauerkraut for some, and they say, sauerkraut, I don't like sauerkraut. Well, kimchi is something else as well. But once again, we're talking about fermented food that are good probiotics. And then we think of those green leafy vegetables. Obviously, spinach is a big one we think about, but don't forget collard greens. Collard greens are fabulous because they also have a good amount of protein as well. And then also green tea. So, Shayna, green tea has polyphenols, and polyphenols, everyone, they're antioxidants. And those
Okay.
antioxidants are huge and incredible for that microbiome or that bacteria in our gut to also keep it healthy.
Yeah. Okay. So you did bananas. A lot of people can like sauerkraut, not so much.
I know, I know,
And
I knew.
and you did say greens, H2O. I mean, I know we push it on our kids so often. We say
Yeah.
drink water, drink water. Does that have any positive impact on gut health or not
It
really?
does. No, it does. Look, everyone, we're composed of over 60% of water, of fluid each and every day. So it's absolutely
Okay.
important when you're talking about the microbiome in some of those foods. And in addition to the water, Shayna, and you brought up something that often commonly comes up. You're gonna tell me I can't have red meat. Well, this will be a little bit of a discussion when I say, look, red meat, but it needs to be in moderation and it needs to be lean because once again, not good for the microbiome. So you want to decrease that along with fried foods, fried fish, fried chicken. I'm sorry, that isn't good for you either because of the oils that it's actually saturated in, which is detrimental to the gut. And also alcohol and antibiotics. And the reason why I say that alcohol we know is not great for the GI system in general. But when I say antibiotics, we get that two ways, Shayna. You can get that whether it's in the foods that we eat, but we don't know, and also
Wow.
at the doctor's office when you get that antibiotic. And what happens, everyone, is that it wipes out the good bacteria in our gut. And that's what we don't want.
You are watching your award winning Let's Talk America radio. I'm on air host and executive producer Shayna Thornton. I am on with the one and only. He's one of our fan favorites, Dr. Ken Redcross. He is an acclaimed internist who travels the world advocating about so many different health topics. And tonight he's talking about your gut health and
Yeah.
he's breaking it down, how it's so important, really a balancing act to our overall health in so many ways. And you told us the foods that we should be going towards and some of the foods we probably should be avoiding.
Yeah.
Before I talk about the supplement part of this, I want to
Mhm.
bring up the S word of soda. Okay, I know
Yeah.
you said
Oh, oh,
H2O can help.
oh. That's a totally different show in and of itself. I don't know if everyone can see me or hearing me. I'm jumping up and down. No more soda. I won't mention brands, but I have a big X up because that is a lot of high fructose corn syrup, a whole bunch of things that aren't good. The carbonation is not good for the bones in my women and men, actually.
Oh,
So,
wow.
soda is a place that we do not want to travel to. Okay, everyone. I get it. I get it's a yummy snack, but it's not one that I want going into any of your bodies anymore, hopefully, after tonight.
Oh, such a good point. Before we wrap up the conversation, supplements. There
Yeah,
are people that saying, I hear you, the bananas, the sauerkraut, the collard
yeah,
greens,
yeah, yeah.
H2O. But what about the busy working parent who's saying, I just don't have the time to cook the collards or steam the
Yeah,
kale
yeah,
or eat the banana, although bananas are super easy. I don't know if we can
yeah,
give people an excuse on that one.
exactly. No, I appreciate that. And you're right. And so, look, everyone, my whole point is to try to see if we can get something in our cupboards to get to health and healing. But sometimes we have to supplement. And I'm actually on the board of probiotics.com. I mentioned that, Shayna, because that's how important probiotics are to health. And one of my favorites that I found is Proplusin Biotic. And why Proplusin Biotic, Shayna? Because it has both a probiotic and also a prebiotic all in one formula. Also like the fact that they have three strains that have been studied together for probiotics. That's unique. In fact, it's funny, they're bifidobacterium and lactobacillus. These are long names, but they call them the friendly trio. Remember it that way. It's a lot easier to do it. But the point is, you want something that's studied. You want something, especially for my patients, that's easy. And so with Pro Plus Symbiotic, the fact that it's chewable, it's in little packets, it makes life a lot easier to blend with those food sources that we just talked about as well, and avoidance of the others.
When we typically hear the word probiotic, it's when our kid or we've been prescribed an antibiotic for a
Yeah.
bacterial infection, and the
Right.
pharmacy tech will mention this could possibly upset your tummy. Perhaps you'd like to look at one of the probiotics we have on the shelf. But you're making a case that it shouldn't only be when we placed on an antibiotic to fight
Right.
strep throat or something else going on in our body. You're saying it's something we should perhaps look into on a daily basis?
Absolutely, Shane. And I'm glad you brought that up. And the other thing that's important is that it's not only about the probiotic. That's what I mentioned before when I mentioned that Proplusin Biotic. You need to figure out where you're going to get your prebiotic too, because that stimulates the probiotic. And so that's why it's nice to have something together, or else we need to start investigating the prebiotics in addition to the probiotic. But you are so right. Anytime you are on an antibiotic, you have to follow it up with a probiotic, and now you're learning a prebiotic as well.
For our kids, often, of course, when the pharmacist tech is like, hey, they may want to be on probiotic if they have strep or their ear infection. Can they take the same dose as we do? I know it can vary from probiotic, prebiotic that's out there, but are probiotics and prebiotics safe for children? Has that been proven?
They are safe for children. Look, the important thing, everyone, so I'm an internist. So it's important that you talk to your pediatrician about this, because obviously kids have different challenges sometimes, or they kind of metabolize things differently. But I'll tell you, a lot of the studies have shown, and even my twins are on probiotics as well, and prebiotics, because of the importance of what it can do for their immunity as we're all dealing with COVID and that sort of thing. So, yes, they can be very safe for children as well. Just make sure you talk to your pediatrician as well.
And speaking of gut health, to put it in layman's terms, we all know I'm a parent, you're a parent, that kids often have tummy aches, if you
Yep.
will, probably
Yep.
from eating too much junk food or other things. And perhaps that could help regulate if they're on one. I'm just throwing that out there. Is that a possibility?
No, it is. And when I mentioned the probiotics.com website before, there's tons of information on this sort of thing for IBS, inflammatory bowel disease, learning what these strains are. Look, it's important. We all share about 30% of the same gut bacteria, but you want to have the right bacteria in your gut. And that's the important thing, is you're starting to learn this along the way.
Such a great conversation with the one and only Dr. Ken Redcross, of course, an acclaimed internist on Let's Talk America Radio. As we wrap up, you did mention that when we go to probiotics.com, there's so much information
Oh
out
yeah.
there. We know in so many of the search engines, if people look up gut health tips, a lot comes up. You are a physician who's been committed to educating people, not
Yeah.
just for the moment, not just when you're seeing them, but you're committed to their overall health and the legacy, Dr. Redcross, that they leave their families. And a lot of
That's
times
right.
that's education and advocacy. But I don't need to tell you that there are many people throughout every community that do have hesitation when it comes to medical providers, if you will, in terms of that bond, that
Yeah.
relationship.
That's
Maybe there's
right.
information that was shared from grandma that wasn't so great about what a doctor told her and things have happened. There has been a lot of misinformation
Yeah.
during the pandemic
Unfortunately.
that came
Unfortunately.
out about many areas of
Hmm.
health. What would be your advice to someone who's listening to perhaps their coworker, perhaps their boyfriend, perhaps the internet? And there's a lot of
Yeah.
things out there saying, I can diagnose you. You don't really need to see a medical provider.
No, that would be a big no. And so that gets back everyone to making sure that you focus on getting that right doctor. Look, the first thing, if there's one thing you leave with tonight about is, besides understanding the importance of gut health, is that you're worth it. You're worth getting that provider that feels like a member of your family. It may take a minute to get there, but the point is you have to look and make sure you get those things that I talk about all the time, that you feel you can trust, you feel they respect you, that they care on the empathy side. And that big C is all about communication. And you make sure that when you have that relationship with the doctor, that you feel like it's a back and forth sharing that's focused on you.
Correct. And I know this, you know this, but there are oaths and standards that medical providers do go by. And in terms of sharing information about family health, family history, those are things that they can trust their medical provider with, right?
Absolutely. And you really have to make sure you do that, because the doctors, we don't know what to do if we don't have all the information that's there. So once again, you have to be honest with two people. I always joke around, Shane, and say you have to be honest with your priest and your doctor. And it's the truth, because we need that in order to provide optimal health, to make sure, as I like to say, that I'm improving your life experience. That's my
Right.
job.
That's so true. And really trust the experts that are out there before you leave. The F word of fear exists
Yep.
in many people. Obviously, we've heard the stories of during COVID-19 pandemic. The world is coming out of it slowly but surely. We heard people saying they didn't trust hospitals so much and they would stay
Yeah.
home and suffer when they were having chest pain, symptoms of
Horrible.
strokes,
Horrible.
things that are very devastating for me to hear as we come out of it. The fear factor hopefully has dwindled, but it still lingers. It's always there. What would you say to someone who's saying, I haven't been to the doctor in 2.5 years? When I go, I know he's going to tell me I gained my COVID-19, similar to freshman 20 or 50. Depends on how much you gained when you went to college.
Exactly.
um,
Exactly.
and, and he's going to follow up on that dyslipidemia, that lipid panel. And it was
Yep.
already creeping up with LDL. She's going to bring up the A1C test, where perhaps
Yep.
that person was already pre-diabetic.
That's
What
right.
would be your tips for those that say, you know what, I went through a really rough patch of the last 2 years, Dr. Redcross. Hearing more bad news is not what I'm signing up for.
Yeah, and that's the big key, everyone. This isn't about bad news. This is about a rebirth. We all went through a pandemic that, unless you're over 100 years of age, you've never been through. And
That's
we
right.
all did that together. And when is the last time you spent this much time with your family and really were able to really bond? So I look at this as almost a rebirth and a blessing as we now come out together to make sure that we get back to that health and healing. So the pandemic really helped us understand the importance of life. And so
Yes.
don't be nervous. Let's get out there. None of that F word, that fear thing,
Right.
that's a no-no.
That's right. I love it. Such great passion and advocacy for health of all communities. We thank you, Dr. Redcross, for all you do. What a great conversation tonight about gut health and also connecting that bond with the right provider. Certainly that's out there. Where can our viewers go for additional information or to connect with you?
So a couple of places. So drkenredcross.com is my website. And I really mean this, everyone. Reach out, ask questions, say hello, and get more information at probiotics.com. Send information there. I mean, send questions there and I'll answer those as well. But make sure to understand you're not alone.
That's right. You are not alone. Such a great question. And you or statement. And I do want to say, speaking of questions, don't be afraid to ask the provider when he or she is in front of you questions, right? I mean, so
Oh,
many
yes.
people,
Oh,
they'll
yes.
ask
Oh,
the
yes.
medical aid or the nurse, but the doctor comes in and they don't ask him or her.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I want to make sure to leave everyone with. Look, I was blessed to be a physician now of over 20 years, and that's just my job. It doesn't make me any better, any more powerful, any more important because you have your song to sing and your role as well. And I say that to say we can come down and we can talk eye to eye, and you
That's
should be
right.
able to have that sharing of ideas and feel like that the doctor is listening and that we're doing this together.
Yeah, I love because it is a relationship, like you said. And it's probably
Bi-directional,
the most
absolutely.
important relationship we have out there. One of
Absolutely.
them,
Each and
certainly.
every day.
Thank you, Dr. Redcross, for joining us here on Let's Talk America Radio. We'll have to have you back on. So many more topics to talk about. We've got to talk about those coming out of the pandemic that were pre-diabetic and
Oh, yeah.
possibly have a full diagnosis now. But I know you say there's hope with that. That's not the end.
Absolutely. It's always hope. Let's remember that too.
Yeah. Such a great conversation and a positive and uplifting one with the one and only again, Dr. Ken Redcross. Join us again for more episodes from Let's Talk America Radio. Stay informed. For additional information, visit ltaradio.com. Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much, Dr. Redcross. Have a
Thank you.
great spring.
I appreciate it. You too.